Hello, friends. Getting ready to go here. Dragon Rose, Joe in Florida, Lunging Mule, James, Daryl, and Molly over there on Discord. What's going on YouTube? We got Fred, Dragon Rose is here, Lunging Mule, hey you. What's up, Jen? Be safe. The tornado rolling through. What the hell? Ooh, yeah. That part of the country. No thanks. Be safe. Here we go. Troubled Minds starting now.
But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
With the rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. They were too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1 0 1 1 1 0
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness. Well, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And, of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. It is our calling card these days. Getting weird, getting strange. Looking at the edges of consciousness and science and all the rest and considering what the hell is going on out there. Now, you know me. I like to scour the news cycles. I'm a connoisseur of propaganda, as I like to say. But also, when you look at, I don't know, just the idea of consciousness itself being as mysterious as it is, as it always has been, there are things that science is going to be, let's say, enlightening to even the heaviest doubters, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't have the answers, which is a great time, by the way, to just drop all of the disclaimers. There's no answers to be found here. This is just ideas. This is just people having a conversation about extraordinary things. That's it. And what it means in terms of truth is, well, negligible. Maybe not at all. And that's completely okay because, well, there's no truth to be found here. So just remember that. I'm not making claims about any kind of cults or anything else. Yeah. So let's start here. Let's go with this. Now, a couple things came to mind. In the news cycles, science is always progressing, as we know. Science, trust the science. Remember that whole bit? Well, science is progressing and changing and moving and shaking and doing all the things as we discover all manner of amazing stuff. And so that's the point, is to consider what we don't know yet and kind of peer around the corners and consider why and ask the question again and again and again. Now, from Science Alert, it was reported this. Now, this one was mind-boggling to me, and it is the seed idea tonight, one of them. But the headline is this: nature might pulse to a universal rhythm. 2 beats per second. Let me read just a little bit of the article. A surprising number of creatures across a wide swath of sizes, species, and communication methods all seem to time their signals to the same basic beat. According to an analysis of communication signals across the animal kingdom, from bird mating dances to frog songs to human music to firefly flashes, the tempo of these signals clusters around 2 beats per second. Given how long all these species have been evolving independently of one another, this common signature could tell us something about the origins of communication. Recognize pop music, 120 beats per minute. We'll get there tonight. But given, quote, there seems to be an abundance of organisms signaling or communicating at a relatively narrow band of tempos. They all seem to stay around 2 or maybe 3 hertz. In principle, they could communicate at other rhythms, says mathematician Guy Amiche of Northwestern University in the United States. But physically, there's nothing preventing them from communicating at, say, 10 hertz. Yet, they do not. To explain this phenomenon, we propose that this tempo of 2 hertz might be easier to understand because it resonates with your brain. It resonates with the human brain, a firefly brain, sea lion brain, a frog brain, and so on. Now, clearly, this is one of those things that makes you wonder what the hell's really going on. Okay, and that's exactly the point. The point of this is really not just, let's say, the cadence of, let's say, speech. Now, the wild part about some of this is, look, many of you have been listening for a long time. Shout out, thank you for being part of this and understanding that I'm imperfect as everybody else. But I talk fast. I just speak quickly. And there's other people with a microphone that speak quickly. Ben Shapiro comes to mind. And, I'm not comparing myself to that man. I'm just saying that there are people that naturally speak quickly. Okay. And especially when there's a little bit of stress with, the microphone and all, people listening and watching and things. And, there's always pressure to deliver, right? To deliver something interesting. But here's the thing. When it comes to that and the cadence of speech and how quickly people speak, there is sort of a slower version of this, recognized like a conversational pace that feels comfortable, that feels like you're in the pocket, not just of the conversation, let's say conceptually with the ideas and whatever great information is flowing, but beyond that and into the larger context of this, something that is, just comfortable, kind of like home cooking, it's weird. I don't know. And it's not something I've mastered because, like I said, it's difficult to do in this space to, you're trying to dance, Mike, dance, do something, make us entertained, right? So yeah, it's a little bit harder, but okay. So there's that. We start with this. Now it is strange. Okay. And I'll get to the write-up in a second because it is very good. But then this other one hit me as well. And we'll get to this and we'll merge these ideas together. But the headline here, this is from neurosciencenews.com. And the headline is this: music corrects the brain's glitched predictions. Okay. Now, how do these fit? How do these things stick together? Now, and basically the short version of this, the links are in the description, by the way, if you want to read up on these ideas. I encourage you to read in full. There's additional links, the actual specific papers these draw on. It's all down there. But anyway, let me just read a little bit of this from the AI recap. And we're going to put them all together after the break here. But a Yale study published in April 2026 demonstrates that group songwriting can help people with psychosis reconnect with reality by retraining the brain's dysfunctional prediction systems. The research explores how music therapy addresses problems with predictive coding, the brain's ability to anticipate what happens next based on past experiences. And 20 participants aged 18 to 65 with schizophrenia or distressing auditory hallucinations participated in a 6-week-long longitudinal study. Groups of 5 met weekly for 2-hour songwriting sessions guided by a professional musician using recording equipment, including microphones, guitars, keyboards, and drums. Participants completed psychometric questionnaires and interviews before and after the intervention. Now, this is the weird part, right? When you start to look at this, not just the communication aspect of the entire animal kingdom, 2 hertz. Okay. Now in this particular space, we're looking at this as sort of a healing mechanism to creation, to psychosis, to many of the things we talk about as part of being, part of the troubled minds community. And I don't mean that as like we're all brain damaged or something, or in some level of psychosis, but it is on the top of my mind a lot in terms of our brain and how we balance reality versus sort of a perceived reality or the mass media and all the things, hyper reality. Okay. Now I'm going to bring these ideas together in just a second, but Before that, we're going to get a quick word from our sponsor. In this case, that will be, I don't know, whatever button I push next. And we're going to be right back. More Troubled Minds in just a second. And look, this gets even more weird because we're going to get to the Pythia. I think I called it the Pythia in the past, but it is the Pythia, which is the name of the show tonight, by the way. It is called The Pythia's Frequency, a Drum, the Oracle, and the Glitch. And I'll tell you all about that when we get back. Don't go anywhere. More Troubled Minds in just one moment. See you on the other side of the break. Be right back. Feeling stressed? Overwhelmed? In today's fast-paced world, it's easy to get swept away by our emotions. Take a breath and find your inner strength with the Stoic Minute.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.
The ancient Stoic philosophers understood that we can't control everything in life, but we can control how we react.
The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts.
Focus on what you can influence. Cultivate a positive mindset and let go of what you can't change. Find your inner strength. Live each day with courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation. Embrace the Stoic virtues and find peace within. The Stoic Minute, brought to you by Jack in Oregon. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let us continue, shall we? Okay, so here's the thing, right? We're gonna go here. I'll start with the write-up and just read this a little bit, and we'll start to bring these ideas together. Now, remember, we started with this 2 hertz. 2 hertz. Nature might pulse to a universal rhythm, 2 beats per second. Okay, pop music, 120 beats per minute. And then music corrects the brain's glitch predictions. How does it fit? This is how it fits. Straight from the write-up, I encourage you to read this in full. That's the Troubled Minds newsletter or Substack. Check it out. So there's a beat beneath everything, not a metaphor, not a spiritual concept borrowed from a tradition that had no better language. A measurable, replicable, physical phenomenon. The tendency of living organisms across 8 orders of magnitude in body size, spanning land and sea and air, to cluster their communication signals in a narrow band around 2 cycles per second. Fireflies flashing, frogs calling, birds displaying, fish pulsing, crickets chirping, human music, at its most reflexive and popular, running at exactly 120 beats per minute, which is 2 beats per second. That's pop music. In case you didn't know, 120 BPM is the most basic pop song, mid-tempo pop, okay? Very popular. The Northwestern University team that published this finding in PLOS Biology in April 2026 framed it conservatively, as one would expect. They proposed that 2 hertz may simply be the rate at which neurons can most efficiently process incoming signals, a hardware limitation that biology has converged on through parallel evolution across hundreds of millions of years. That explanation is probably correct as far as it goes, but it does not go very far. Consider what it sits above. The Earth's own electromagnetic field resonates at 7.83 hertz, and this is something we don't talk about often, but it is the Schumann Resonance. Okay, 7.83 hertz, a frequency generated continuously by the planet's lightning activity in the cavity between the surface and the ionosphere. This has been a measurable fact since Schumann first documented it in 1952. What is less often remarked upon is that 7.83 hertz falls precisely at the boundary between the human brain's alpha and theta wave states, the border country between relaxed waking awareness and the dreaming, visionary, hypnagogic territory where ordinary cognition loosens and something else begins to operate. I'm going to bookmark that there, and now we're going to go off script. Now, the bizarre part of this is, like I said, when it comes to human communication, there are comfort food versions of, a nice cadence or a nice resonance of a voice. It's called a timbre when you're talking about singers or speakers. These things exist. This stuff is real. It's not really quantifiable. You can't just kind of scribble down, maybe eventually you're going to be able to, or maybe it's a thing and it's over my head. But to really say that somebody, a classical singer, just has a better timbre than another, it's a richness of tone. It's something that just, it feels better. It feels right. You get it? And so not only that, when we communicate with each other, we have this these wide and varied things always happening, always turning us into, judgment centers of, this guy, Mike, he talks too fast. I kind of don't trust him, Look at all the crazy stuff he's always saying, whatever, right? Like these judgment centers happen as part of this. Now, we're going to get to the oracle, because this thing really sits at the heart of what this story is about tonight. But actually, no, hold on. We got calls. I don't know who this is, but somebody called instantly the second we started the show. So we're going to do that. Hang tight, James. We're going to get to James in just a second. Let's get some calls and clear the queue here. And I'll tell you about the oracle as we go, the Pythia's frequency, because that fits in the middle of this. It is in the write-up. If you guys haven't read it, please do. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Thanks for being patient, James. I'm not sure who this is. What's going on? You're on Troubled Minds. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? And go right ahead.
You should know who I am.
I know who you are. What's up, Jay Winch? Welcome to the joint.
Sir.
What's on your mind, my man?
Yes, sir. How you been? So, a frequency, a drum, the beat of a tone. 1, 2. Doof, doof, doof.
Buckle my shoe.
Techno, rock music, whatever it is, it's a beat. Whether it be a heartbeat, and then you speed it up, it creates a weird energy. Whether it be techno or a rave pit. But the whole thing of the frequency and human resonance, it was discovered a long time ago. But the most recent one they'll tell you about was the OG Tesla. And he said, I figured out the human frequency, and I can use sound waves that you can't hear and cause issues. I can cause you to be violent. I can cause you to be calm. That's the same with music. Like, somebody who's never been to a mosh pit, and I put you in music where there's a bunch of people moshing around, and we're listening to like some hardcore Slayer music and blah, 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 and the drums are beating hard, that energy is going to be put within you. But if I play some Beethoven or Mozart and it calms you down and you just listen to the frequency, it'll calm you down. And anybody that listens to music will understand the beat of the drum. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And actually, you're right in the pocket here, because that's exactly what we're talking about. We're going to get to that drum beating and how it changes, not just, let's say, as I said, the communication aspect as we started, the 2 hertz, 2 beats, 120 BPM, but also the idea that old shaman drum, the shamanic drum, and that those altered states have been a technology, as you're describing, for, 40,000 years maybe. I mean, this goes back a long ways, but interesting that science is kind of catching up and learning a lot about how we communicate with each other and how our brain state kind of stabilizes or changes, or tons of stuff in consciousness research. But fire stuff. What else you got?
Well, I mean, it goes the same thing. Like, I'm sure you've seen the studies of where they go to freeze ice and they play ice/water, and they play like beautiful music, and it makes the most mosaic type beautiful stretches of art that you can see. And then they play hate and swear at it and cuss at it, and it works. And it's like a broken frequency, and it's like ruptured and divided. And I feel that's like what's going on with this world right now. They're dividing us and putting us into these categories and these subcategories. And they're just like beating a drum and be in this category, be in this category. And, aren't we all human? Don't we all share the human resonance? Why are we fighting each other?
Yeah.
Why are we fighting for somebody to get rich and we all stay broke?
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I mean, the answer, the question you asked is the answer is above my pay grade, as you know, but these conversations certainly aren't. And that's why we like to have them. We got to get James in here. Your final thought, brother. I appreciate you jumping in and fire stuff as always. Thank you for kicking us off.
James. And if you want, I'll stay here on hold and listen to it while I listen to music. If anybody wants me to check back in, that's up to you.
Okay. Tell you what, if something comes to mind that you want to add, just call back. No big deal. I don't want to keep you on hold there because the phone line costs me money. Don't forget that. And second, kind of check. Yes.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. It's pennies, but still, like, stacking you on hold doesn't make any sense. If you get an idea, give me a call. Give me a call back.
Coffee.
Give me a call back.
Buy me a coffee and I'll give you a call back.
Give you a call back. You're the best. Appreciate the call, Jay Winch in Missouri. You were the best. Be safe out there. I hear there's tornadoes in the area, so you be safe. Scary times out there. If you want to be a part of the conversation tonight, thank you, Jay Winch. Always a pleasure. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And we're going to get to the Pythia and some of this other stuff that really fills in the angle here. But yeah, great call, Jay Winch. James, thanks for being patient. You're on Troubled Minds. Got about 3.5, 4 minutes if you got anything to add. And then, of course, you're welcome to stay.
Yeah, glad to be here. I had an experience with sound once, and it was just like I was listening to some kind of a show where they were just talking, but I was sitting there and I was really relaxed while I was listening. And at some point, everything I went into some kind of trance and everything froze. And this one note of this person's voice, and I don't even remember now what they were talking about. This was several years ago. Everything just stopped and froze, like reality just stopped. And it seemed to go on that way for several seconds. I don't even know how long exactly. And then everything started going again like normal. And the conversation went on, and I looked at my clock, and it matched with what I felt, and the show had not paused, and there was no obvious explanation for what happened. And I don't know what happened, but I think there is something to sound and sounds and the way they can have effects on people. And I mean, who knows how or why that happened? If it was because I was already relaxed, but it's a fascinating thing how sound works and music works. And yeah, happy to sit in because as you know, and people that know me are aware, a lot of what I pay attention to is sound. So looking forward to the rest of the show here.
Yeah, glad to have you. Fire stuff as always. You know where to find him at salsidoparanormal.com, SALSIDO paranormal.com. Go buy his book, please. Multiple books. Go buy them. Buy them on Amazon tonight. Get them tomorrow. Fire stuff. We'll get back to James in a moment here. So let me fill in a little bit more of this too, because like I said, this one is a complicated thing, but if you want to catch up to what's going through my brain, just go read the write-up, which I'm going to read right now. So the planet's electromagnetic idle speed and the human brain's threshold into altered states are basically the same number. That's what we're talking about tonight. This overlap has been documented long enough that aerospace medicine now includes Schumann Resonance generators in some spacecraft to prevent the disorientation that astronauts experience when removed from Earth's field. The body, it turns out, uses the planetary signal to regulate itself. When it disappears, things go wrong in measurable ways. Now, we'll get back to the Schumann resonance in a second here, but you get the idea. So, I'm kind of waving my arms around with the conspiracy stuff to make the connections, but you see where my mind's at. We speak to each other in this, not just us, the entire animal kingdom, this universal rhythm, 2 beats per second. Pop music, 120 beats per minute, as I'm describing. And there's something about it that feels, like I said, comfortable, something that feels natural. The music term is in the pocket, okay? But beyond that, how come it's like this? Because we can do all manner of things, but it kind of bakes it into this one corner of communication over the entire animal kingdom. It doesn't make sense, does it? Or does it? Does it or doesn't it? That's the question tonight. And we're going to get into some other weird stuff because that's what we do. But think about it. In terms of consciousness and that drum that Jay Winch brought up, great call, Jay Winch, and the music James is describing, these sounds actually regulate and even can fracture our conscious space. The mosh pit example was a good example of that. Take somebody who listens to classical music and drop them into a mosh pit situation with big drums and big guitars, and it's going to feel like pain. or something, right? Anyway, love to hear your thoughts on this. If you got a take on this, why do you think this universal rhythm, 2 beats per second, is ubiquitous across the animal kingdom? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Love to hear your thoughts, and more from James coming up in your calls as well. Love to hear how weird do you think this is? How weird does this get? And what comes next? As usual, when you talk about consciousness and sounds and communication and the animal kingdom and humans and music, there's a ton of things that come to mind. But what do you know? One more time, 702-857-6939. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. Be right back. More from James and your calls as well. See you on the other side of the break. Be right back.
You're tuning into Troubled Minds, the show where mystery knows no bounds. Stay tuned for revelations that'll keep you questioning the fabric of reality.
A second, the firefly blinks, the frog in the darkness, the cricket that sings, the sea lion calling across the cold bay, all of them pulsing the same ancient way. The body is walking at 2 beats a breath, the heart finds its rhythm between life and death. Whatever is living is locked to the clock, and nobody chose it, and nobody stopped. What the drum opens, the silence was keeping. What the drum opens was always there. 2 beats a second, the world keeps repeating. Whatever is listening was built to hear. The Pythia sat where the cold vapor rose and learned how to empty the self that she knows. The prior runs stronger than signal or sight. The oracle spoke what the god spoke that night. The Yale lab is saying the same ancient thing. A broken prediction relearns through the string. The beat in the chorus rebuild what was lost. The shaman already knew what it cost. What the drum opens, the silence was keeping. What the drum opens was always there.
That's a good one. As usual, that will be in the Discord after show chat if you want to check it out, download it, listen, whatever. Anyway, what's up, Herschel? We got Matt Sell, Eric. I see you, James. Thank you. We'll get back to James momentarily. Appreciate that for being patient. Dragon Rose, Molly, APOC, Daryl. Somebody's moving around. Joe in Florida, Joey, the Robert, and Satya. I see you guys. Puff, Nostradamus over there on Rumble. I see you. Hiker, Emoji, Gordo, the Puff sighting. Puff got first, the Puff sighting. Hope everybody's well tonight. Just hanging out, doing Troubled Mind stuff. And I mean, basically just boiling this down to the interesting aspect of communication, cadence, frequency, and how it affects our consciousness. A lot of ways to look at this, and I think it's highly fascinating and going to change a lot of things as we learn more and more about, well, maybe the ancient ways. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up right about, shall we say now? Now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting. And of course, 88.4 FM, Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, we're taking your calls as we get weird. As usual, let me see. Let's read the blurb. New research says every living thing on Earth communicates at roughly 2 beats per second. Fireflies, frogs, human music, all running on the same clock. A second study, rhythm can repair the glitching brain's prediction engine. We'll get to that. The same mechanism that causes hallucinations can be reset by music. Neither team mentioned that both discoveries describe the same underlying technology the shaman's drum has been operating for nearly 40,000 years. That's what's on my mind tonight. We're making the connection. We're talking about not just a Schumann resonance, but we're talking about communication, cadence, frequency, energy, vibration, and how it affects us to a person. Communicating, singing, the rhythm of the drums, the dissociation, I never say it right, aspect of music itself. And recognizing that, notice the dichotomy of this. One, music can sort of fracture you and take you to places that are uncomfortable. But then in the same breath, they can also put you back together again. Humpty Dumpty, back together again. Wild stuff. Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And what James said is fantastic, very striking. Sometimes you do hear a tone. You hear somebody sing a particular note, somebody's voice, something, even somebody speaking. And there are just some tones that, like I said, feel like home. And it's really difficult to describe. You just know when you hear it. But it's happened to me. I was in, just a real quick story to mirror James's there. I was in college in music classes, and I actually didn't take any music classes directly. I was sneaking over there and just hanging out in the music class. So, poor kids, that's how you do things. But there was one day I walked into this hall. It's sort of like this circular hall. And there's this girl that was just singing in there. And it was like that natural reverb effect. And I was just like, dude, like I got chills. Like I just walked in and she's just belting it in the hallway. And I'm like, whoa, like what is this? And I don't know, it does things to you. It's like, I didn't know this person. I couldn't even see her. I could just hear her. And there was just like that, whoa, this is incredible. And I had to get out of there because I wasn't sure if I was going to pee my pants or something. You know what I mean? It was like that jarring and that good in a good way. But back to you, James. Anything to add? I know I cut you short there. Anything to add to that? And we'll go to Joe in Florida. Thanks for being patient, friends.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, great call from Jay Winch, and cause I said that in chat, but not during the show. This also makes me think of how it's amazing that there's this. I'm just thinking about everyday life. There's so much randomness that happens, and all that. But then when you listen to music, whatever kind you listen to, and I think it's also weird how different people are into different kinds of music. I don't think any two people like the same exact kinds of music, is from what I've experienced so far. But when you get to music, it does, it's the opposite of that randomness. But and now I forgot the thing I was going to say. So I guess I'll probably come back to it later.
That's okay. It happens to me all the time, and you guys can tell when it happens. I'm like, oh God, how did I get here? Anyway, love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for bailing me out time and again, not just James, everybody else. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Love to hear your thoughts. We're talking music. We're talking consciousness. We're talking the ancient shamanic beating drum. Let's go to Joe in Florida. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so good show. Makes sense. Down to earth. We've all experienced music, so what other common thing can we come together with? It's got to be music. Even some countries, much as I don't like it, but maybe old country. But yeah, and for those of you who don't know, like I have a part-time gig where I DJ in Ybor City at the Castle, actually. So I'll just say that. It's a pretty famous golf club. But when I do have an opportunity to start my nights, I might start something with like 98, 97 beats per minute and quickly move up from there as the club starts to crowd in to get the vibe going. But yeah, you're right, 118, 120 beats, people start moving and going. The thing that I find, though, is if you stay at that beat, even as a DJ, if you stay at that beat for music for 3 or 4 songs, 5 songs, I kind of switch it out, or I'll jump genres to something like Jay Winch was saying. I will play metal. I will play some punk, probably pop punk more than anything. The kids will want to hear Fall Out Boy and stuff like that. But even some of those songs will resonate at 118 beats. And I'll actually try to mix that in with something that's actually electronic to keep the vibe going. So, yeah, music at 120 beats, definitely even better if you have a DJ or somebody that can mix it and keep that vibe going. And you notice that on the dance floor, people will get happy. I know when I go out dancing and you're jumping around at that beat, you are exerting energy, and you feel better for doing that when you're done. It's like a workout. When people go to work out and they're hearing workout music, they feel better doing that, So definitely something to it, and definitely something that probably was genetically or resonated in our brains and our capacity. I will tell you this, that I won't play a lot of, I'm just going to say it, I won't play rap music. When you look at rap music at 78 beats, it's not that I don't care for the music, I really don't, but it feels like it's low energy, and that reflects on the dance floor. When I see that, people might just stand around, some people just shake and do one move, and it resonates at low energy. We try not to play that at club. I will play some hip hop, things like that. I'll play some Biggie, stuff like that. That's kind of fun. Beastie Boys, all of that stuff, kind of in and out. But you could definitely tell the difference. And then what's funny is in the middle of the night, I might throw in a disco song. And some discos like 112 or 115 beats, but the kids will love disco. And when you're DJing, you could feed on the energy because you can make the crowd go. But sometimes what happens is when the dance floor's kind of dead, people are getting going, you'll take requests. I will definitely take requests. And then those requests will get people going. And then all of a sudden, when the crowd is feeding you, when the crowd feeds you a request and they start to get out there, then it's your turn to feed them. And you're playing songs that they don't even think that they want to hear, but they'll hear it. And then they'll jump around like a kind of pop, and I'll play a lot of top 40 on Saturdays. So it's songs they haven't heard in a while, but they will scream, jump, and they will go. And then in the middle of all of it, I'll throw in Rob Zombie, because Rob Zombie is 124, 25 beats. You can mix that in and go from there, and they just have a blast. And you're feeding off the crowd and the energy, and it's unity. And everybody's out there not caring right till the end. So anyway, just a good show. Definitely lower resonance, lower beats, lower energy. 120, 125 beats, great energy, moving along. And then you could peak to 130, 140, even 160 beats, and then peak back down. And it's just fun. It's a fun ride on a train.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this? I never thought of it this way until you're just talking about it. And, DJs get a lot of crap. It's like, the musician mind is like, make your own stuff. This is nonsense. You're just playing a playlist, right? Well, that's not true.
Other people's music, but I don't.
Well, hold on though. So that's not true at all. What you're doing is you're literally building sort of a consciousness manipulation space to kind of draw them into, like you said, a little bit lower to start. And then you kind of, as the place starts to fill up, you're pumping 120 BPMs, and then suddenly everybody's feeling good. And you're doing it sort of in a, I don't know, like a modern shamanic space. Like I said, I never considered it that way until you're just describing it, that there's certainly a larger art to it. And so I am one of those guys who makes fun of DJs, not you, my friend, of course, but you know what I mean? Like it's easy to kind of be negative about things, but I'm saying that I'm recognizing that I'm wrong, sir. That's all I'm saying.
Well, no, and here's the thing. It's funny because if I can find the picture, I'll post it in the chat, but my other DJ friend was walking in Ybor City, and somebody posted, everybody wants to be a DJ, nobody wants to dance. But I've been a DJ since 1200s in vinyl. But to give you an example, when you like beat mix, what I'm getting at is anybody could push play and do a playlist, and we are playing other people's music. But the art of it is if you could grab the beat without hitting a sync button. So if your ear is trained, and that's the other poison of a DJ. If your ear is trained, you can mix different genres to change moods. And then the other thing is, I'll give you an example of a mix. Not that anybody's going to have an adventure out of it, but I mix video. So there's a Mercedes-Benz version of Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. And I will play that video, that song, Blinding Lights. And because the club is kind of a goth club, 80s club, everything, you literally can mix in Take On Me by a-ha. And if anybody remembers that video also has to do with cars. So, and you have kids that are 21, 22, 20 years old. They know, they surprise you by knowing the music, because I don't want to gatekeep at 52. But I know decades of music, and it's the right time. Anybody could hit play, but as a really skilled DJ, it's playing the right song at the right time and getting the crowd going. And when you could go from something modern like The Weeknd to playing a-ha, Take On Me, right? And then going to play Joy Division, Love Will Tear Us Apart, and then Mickey by Tony Basil, and you keep on going, and the crowd is just going and going. You feel it. You could feel it. Sometimes when you get a mosh pit going and you're playing Korn and you're playing, Linkin Park, and they're starting to go, and then you're like, I got to bring it back down. You literally have to play something to bring it back down, and you'll beat mix it. You just don't want to hit play because you don't want to interrupt that vibe. But at least if you could beat mix it into something slower or more calm, you literally watch the energy just change in the room. It is wild.
Yeah, like I said, sort of a modern day alchemy, that shamanic space of the old ways was the drums, and now suddenly we've got all this technology we can do this stuff with. Like I said, I was recognizing where I was wrong and complimenting you. Real quick, the Night Stalker has a question in the chat. He says, Joe noticed Gen Z doesn't dance as much at dance clubs, more chilling and texting, or is that just the internet? It's suggesting that's the case.
It opened up a funny thread and there's a Facebook page called Cynical DJs. And I posted that, and it still gets some hits here and there. I'm not a big poster. But if you look at, like, if anybody's listening, my buddy has his Instagram. It's called VJ Jason Barco, and he'll post from the club. And then what happens is we have a lot of influencers. So a lot of kids are out there to have a good time, but a lot of kids are out there with their cell phone. And they're just, videotaping themselves looking cool in the room, which is fine. I have to consider myself lucky because where clubs in New York, where a lot of clubs have closed and things have closed down, after COVID, the club has had a resurgence. People complain because we don't always play goth music, but there's definitely 2 rooms for goth music. There's a lot of college frat boys that come out. But yeah, and then the patio, sometimes people come out to smoke. They'll hang out and they'll enjoy the vibe. They won't dance. It's weird. They won't dance. And then they will dance. It's just a weird vibe. It's a totally weird. That happened to me like about a month ago. I was in the patio and playing some songs that were club appropriate and 80s adjacent, things like that. And they were kind of standing around. And then another group of kids came back at the end of the night. And I ended up playing like 2 Live Crew, just crazy stuff. And they were having a good time just because it was stupid. So you just never know.
You just never know. I dig it. Yeah. Your mama don't dance and your daddy don't rock and roll, sir. 100%. What else you got for us?
No, that's really, it's a good subject. Schumann Resonance, all of those things, the vibe. And it's funny because this morning when we got up, I told my wife, I said, I feel like something different. And I was putting in some freestyle, like old TKA and Noel. If anybody's familiar with that, Expose, Stevie, all that stuff that I was raised on, that I haven't heard in forever, but I needed to change. And then as a DJ, sometimes when you hear DJs on the radio, a lot of times they just put a backbeat to certain songs that should not be remixed, and they've just put a backbeat in, and that gets annoying because as a DJ, you just hear the beat, and when I just hear the same backbeat, it's ridiculous. It like poisons the songs. So, anyway, yeah, and on a day off, I don't listen to that. I'll put in like Matt Berenger or The National or something mellow. But I will let you guys go. Good topic. I've carried on way too long.
Appreciate the call. You are the best. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Good night.
Joe in Florida. You know him, you love him, good friend for a long time. And of course, the actual funeral director. He didn't come into play tonight, but like I said, it's wild to kind of meet all these amazing people over the years that all different walks of life and do different things. And he's certainly a great guy to know, not just because he's smart, intelligent, funny, all the things that you know, but beyond that, he's got an expertise in some things that other people do not. And we'll get back to that when we get back around to Halloween. We'll do another Undertaker style show with him. But Firestar, appreciate the call. Tonight we're talking, look, consciousness, music, communication. And we started with this bizarre article with, nature might pulse to a universal rhythm, 2 beats per second, suggesting that the entire animal kingdom is basically communicating in this same space, almost as if it is, like I described earlier, that comfort food or that home cooking idea of communication. And when people speak at a proper cadence, with a proper timbre, whatever proper means, it certainly feels as if you can trust them, right? I mean, there's like just that aspect alone is kind of tickling the consciousness aspect of what the hell it even means, just to talk to each other. There's all these other things happening sort of beneath the surface that we hear the words, but then we also, in many cases and ways, feel the words. And so, I don't know, we're going to get to the Pythia as well, because that fits heavily into this. Hang with me. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, anything to add to that? If your thought came back, I'd love to hear it. If not, I'll keep on trucking.
Oh, just great to hear from Joe. Great call. I think I actually used my thought and then forgot I used it, and so I was thinking I had another, but I didn't. But listening to Joe talk about DJing, it made me think of sort of the other side of things with actual bands, because my dad and my uncle have had a classic rock band now for 50 plus years, and I've been to several of their gigs over at a lot of times, like in my 20s and 30s, like in bars and stuff back when they did a little more of that, but just other gatherings. And I've noticed there was a similar thing I noticed with them, where they knew how to get people going, and then when it looked like people were starting to get worn out, they knew how to slow things down. They played mostly classic rock, 60s, 70s rock, some 90s rock, but they knew how to play some faster songs for a while. I don't know the actual beats per minute, but faster songs for a while, and then they knew when to slow it down. And they also knew, that every once in a while they were able to go from playing one song to just keep on playing drums or instruments here or there for a minute, and then switch over to another song right after. So just listening to them do that and watching and listening to the crowd, I noticed a similar thing with what Joe was talking about there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, kind of working the crowd, as they say, and recognizing, you can't go 160 BPM all night, or you can have heart attacks and like the ambulances show up. It's like, you don't want to do that at all. But I mean, yeah, it is, like I said, it's one of those arts that's lost on me, because, I did play in a band a long time ago, but it's been so long that I just forgot all that stuff. And so now, the cynical me forgets these things, and there's this alchemy. There's an alchemy as part of that, when they say working the crowd or recognizing what needs to come next. And you can't just go, balls to the wall, 160 BPM all night, or like I said, people start falling out. That's not good. But I mean, like I said, this entire thing is incredible. We'll get to the rest of it, because this gets deeper. Like I said, if you want to go the full deep dive, go read the Substack, the Troubled Minds newsletter, troubledminds.org, right on top. Click the thing, go follow it. It'll pop up a thing and say you want to pay. Just hit, if you don't want to, of course, just hit free and go read it. Really good stuff. What else you got, James? Anything else? And then if not, I'll go straight to the write-up here.
I just want to point out something kind of I said earlier too, which is, and elaborate a little bit on that, is the way that music does. It seems to do different things for different people. That people have their own taste in what they like. Funny thing about classical music, we were talking about that earlier. I don't listen to it much because of the higher pitch that a lot of it has, those string instruments and all those kinds of things. And but I know there's people that absolutely love classical music, and it relaxes them, and it has the opposite effect on me in general. So it really, Every situation is different. And I wonder, is that something that's built into us? Is there, even though we all do recognize, beats and the how they can be useful, do we all, are there different speeds and sounds that are, that do work better for some people more than others?
Yeah. And how does that change? I mean, very simply, we all have a taste when we're teenagers, and then, maybe we learn to play instruments, and then our taste changes. And then, maybe we are that sort of the trope of the old guy sitting there sipping tea, listening to Beethoven or something. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. Anybody experience that out there? Hands up, raise your hand. If not, I mean, I'm not listening to Beethoven just yet. I mean, not that I haven't, but it's not like my bump of choice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. It's a weird thing. The whole thing's very, very bizarre, because you're right. These things do change as I'm describing, but then all the different types of music do different things to different people. And of course, it's where we come from. It's our taste. It's all this stuff. But as usual, the most important part of the conversation is that how it affects our human consciousness. And recognize this. Anybody out there, drivers out there, that a song comes on the radio, you crank up the volume, and then you start driving like a maniac, right? Anybody ever have that happen? And pretty soon you look down, you're doing 85, and you're like, what am I doing? This is crazy. Uh-oh. Just because a good song comes on the radio, right? And you turn it up, and then suddenly you're kind of caught up in the moment. I mean, this is the type of stuff, right? It is a consciousness elevator, or maybe not elevator, but certainly a way that changes one state to another. And like I said, that manipulation space is like the modern shamanism. Shout out Joe, and explaining that and reformulating that in my mind. But yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Go ahead.
I think that's it for now.
Right on. You guys want to be part of the conversation? Nobody on the line, 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Okay, so now back to the write-up. Like I said, read it. It's very good. So you have 2 hertz as the base, where we started tonight. This again, so nature might pulse to a universal rhythm, 2 beats per second, 2 hertz. 2 hertz at the base, where organisms talk to each other. Then you have 7.83 hertz above it, where Earth holds its breath between waking and dreaming. That's the Schumann Resonance. And in between, in the 4 to 7 hertz band, you find the shamanic corridor. Okay, I almost called the show that. I should have called it that. Anyway, this is not mystical terminology. It is the frequency range that researchers have repeatedly documented as the target of shamanic percussion worldwide, which is the whole point of this. The drum. If you notice the artwork, that big-ass drum, not an accident. The drum, across cultures that had no contact with each other, arrives at roughly the same beat rate because it is aiming at the same neurological window. A 2025 review of the Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences documented that rhythmic auditory stimulation in this range induces absorption and altered states through measurable changes in brain network activity, including a decoupling from external sensory processing and a shift toward internally generated experience. What the drum does at a technical level is loosen the brain's grip on consensus reality by driving neural oscillations into the frequency range where that grip naturally relaxes. Now, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point of me bringing this up tonight. That's the whole point of the idea of this, the Pythia's frequency, which we will get to, I promise. I'm calling it a drum, the oracle, and the glitch, because you start to see where consciousness glitching comes into this, and the old shamanic pattern of drumming. Like I said, back to 40,000 years ago, something to this degree. When did they find the first drum? Hell, I don't even know. I didn't even dig into that, but it was a long time ago. This is something that we've been doing to ourselves, to each other, in the rhythmic space, in the rhythmic mind space, for thousands of years. So I don't know. How weird does this get? And like I said, the bizarre part is not just that the animal kingdom seems to follow suit, and we all communicate at that 2 hertz in that lane, but then also how it seems like there is that hierarchy, the stack. The larger stack of these, the hertz of the Schumann resonance, and then that shamanic corridor, and then all the way down to just base earth level communications. That's the point. How weird is that? And do you think there's something to it when we talk about animals actually communicating at a 2 hertz rate? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure I fully understand it. 2 beats per second. Clearly I get that. But what does this mean? It seems like it is an elevator level of understanding of consciousness, and maybe even a ceiling. I don't know. Maybe even a floor. You tell me. Love to hear your thoughts. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. I don't know. You know me. answers few, questions many. When I see these ideas, I just can't help myself. I got to talk about them. I got to think about them. Love to hear your thoughts. We got, looks like we got Herschel coming up. Appreciate that. We'll talk to him momentarily here. And shout out, who's our new friend there? I see you over on James's show all the time too. Who is this? Thank you for the kind comment there. That is Nitiri. Hello, welcome to Troubled Minds. Thanks for hanging out and thanks for listening. Let's take a break. Be right back. More Troubled Minds coming up. Love to hear what you think. Herschel coming up. More from James and your calls as well. One more time. 702-857-6939. Consciousness. Music. The drumming of the ancient ways. Yeah. Be right back. More on the way. Do not go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. The Pentagon is quietly overhauling its counter-drone strategy following a landmark military exercise that simulated a Ukraine-style swarm attack on American soil. Last September at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, members of the 10th Special Forces Group conducted what the military calls Operation Clear Horizon, launching a coordinated drone assault modeled after Ukraine's so-called spider web attack against Russia, with defenders drawn from across the U.S. military scrambling to respond. What made the exercise unusual was the sheer variety of drone technology deployed against the defenders. Operators used commercial radio frequency drones, frequency hopping systems resistant to jamming, fiber optic controlled units, and drones operated via cellular networks, including one scenario where operators in Colorado remotely targeted assets in Florida, a reported first for the U.S. military. Brigadier General Matt Ross, who heads Joint Interagency Task Force 401, the Pentagon's central counter-drone coordinating body, told attendees at the Sea Airspace Conference this week that the exercise fundamentally reshaped the military's priorities. Between September and December alone, 67 follow-on tests were conducted in the wake of the exercise's findings. Officials acknowledge that previous counter-drone testing, including last August's T-Rex exercise at Camp Atterbury, Indiana, and the Army's Fly Trap exercise in Germany last November, largely avoided simulating real electromagnetic countermeasures, because jamming technology interferes with civilian aircraft guidance and cellular infrastructure, limiting where and how it can be tested. Operation Clear Horizon represented a deliberate break from that pattern, and the implications for how the U.S. military prepares for drone threats on a modern battlefield may be significant. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Indeed. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for being part of this. Appreciate you, James, for being the glue of the show as always. Herschel coming up next. What's up, Matt, Sal, Eric? I see in the chat there, lighting it on fire. Tell us about it. Love to hear it. What's up, Dragon Rosalinda, APOC? We got Daryl Nitiri. How do we say that? Am I saying that right? What's up, Joe in Florida? Thanks for the call. You're the best. Joey and the Roberts. Yeah, talking music. I mean, not just music and consciousness. It is certainly one of those things that we've all experienced. But as usual, you know me, how weird and how deep does this get? And certainly there's, this has been studied for a very long time, and how we manipulate consciousness and how we can, through the mass media, manipulate people with ideas. But then certainly the sound itself, the resonance of music and harmonic aspect really turns this into like an MK Ultra for the masses aspect. You bet your bippy they did a ton of studies on this, seeing, if rock and roll really did corrupt the youth and bring about the devil worship of the 80s or whatever. And of course, I'm just halfway tongue in cheek in that, but you get what I'm saying. I don't know. I do think that there's something to this. And I do think it's incredibly important that we recognize, that we always recognize we're even manipulating ourselves, right? You put on a particular type of music. You're like, I'm in this kind of mood, and you put it on, and you're sort of leaning into the mood. Certainly, you could counter mood yourself, right? I mean, not like you'd want to. Unless it was a bad mood, but you get the feeling. You get what I'm saying here. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well tonight. Just hanging out, doing Troubled Mind stuff, and we'll get to Herschel in a second here. But yeah, and we'll get to the oracle part of this, because as usual, when you look at the consciousness aspect of anything, and go back to the ancient ways, there was a lot of that stuff when it comes to being able to tell the future, when it comes to dreams that inform you of things that you couldn't possibly know. And check out the last show if you're into that type of stuff, like the weird voices that come from nowhere. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I don't know. Being a conscious entity in a it's hard enough. Let's just leave it at that. Just trying to not be too stupid about it. But anyway, being human's hard. Yeah, the band Slayer. You either like it or hate it. I don't know. I can kind of see the middle. I mean, I'm in the mood sometimes, but other times not so much. Yeah. Okay. All right. Here we go. Troubled Minds coming up, and Herschel, and more from James and your calls as well. Let's go. Let's do it. Let's find the right buttons. Click, click. There we go. 5 seconds. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange. We're streaming on YouTube, Rumble, X, Twitch, and Kick. We are broadcasting live on the Troubled Minds Radio Network. That's KUAP Digital Broadcasting, which you can find at KUAPDB.com, just like it sounds. There's the lovely website. Nice and yellow, nice and white, nice and black to match the decor. Also, 88.4 FM Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight we're talking, all kinds of stuff. The Pythia's frequency, a drum, the oracle, and the glitch. And basically, to boil this down, how sound itself affects consciousness. And not only that, we're going to get to the shamanic drumming and the ways of the old ancient space, mind space, the manipulation space of where this all came from, because it is primordial. Absolutely. The first deer skin or whatever animal hide drum that they made somewhere certainly was made and utilized. And suddenly they recognized, without modern science, they recognized that sort of the beating of that drum, like who said it earlier in the chat too, beating the war drums. Was that Jay Winch maybe? Like, that's the type of stuff that we're talking about, right? You beat the war drum, and suddenly people's blood gets up and they're ready to just tear each other's throats out. It's an interesting aspect, the entirety of all this. But anyway, love to hear your thoughts. If you want to be part of the conversation, we are taking your phone calls at 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. James, anything to add? And we'll go to Herschel in Arizona.
Well, just something I just thought about during the break. I don't know why I didn't think about it earlier. Music, drums, and other things, other instruments, sounds have been used by people throughout time to get into these altered states and to supposedly make contact with other beings in other dimensions. So there's that aspect that's been around, I'm sure throughout even till now. Also, another quick note on that, there are some experiences people have where, we often hear about paranormal experiences where people hear voices or just regular sounds, but there are people that have had experiences where they hear music in a place where there is no music playing, in some rare cases. Not so much like modern music, but just older style music. So it is still something that, could possibly echo throughout time. In certain situations.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's at the heart of this, that old shamanic, beating the drum. Some science, I've said this many times on the show, but some of the Stonehenge, archaeoacoustic stuff suggested that they built these old ancient stone things for exactly that reason, to have sort of this echoing pattern of these drum effects that cause a heightened state that a normal drum pattern wouldn't do. Is kind of like a reverb and an echo kind of clapping back on itself that really elevated the just the mind space and took you out of the mundane aspect of just being a human and kind of let your mind open up into that larger gate of whatever that is, which is really the basis of this show. If you read the write-up at the very end, that's the question. Like, which gate were we trying to open up? And is any of that stuff still possible? Fire stuff. Anything else, James? And we'll go to Herschel.
Well, just that those altered states, that people will get into, you could say they're almost similar to dreams in a way. And again, we have that connection to, the dreaming state. And there's plenty of experiences people have with dreams where they're hearing things there too, the sounds and voices and things when they're dreaming. So, and that seems to be that nexus to everything possibly as well. So maybe that's another way. Music is another way to get to that level of consciousness without actually going to bed, basically.
Amen. Well said. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I'm calling this the Pythia's frequency tonight, a drum, the oracle, and the glitch. And we're talking about consciousness, where we started with this nature might pulse to a universal rhythm 2 beats per second in the communication space, but then also the fact that music can be used to heal, but also for the opposite, beating the war drums, for instance. What do you know about it? And how weird does it get at the ends of ends? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. Herschel in Arizona. What's up, brother? Commercial Herschel, you're on Troubled Minds. How are you? Go right ahead.
Yeah, what a great topic. There's so much there. I can remember, the first thing that came to mind was this, that guitarist Link Ray wrote a song called Rumble. There's no words in that song, but it was so powerful that it was banned. There was just something about the song that rubbed the censors or the paranoids so much that they banned his song. And there's not even any words in it. And he used, power chords and tremolo to kind of evoke that, I think, to evoke that kind of state in that song. And I listened to it. It's called Rumble, and the guy's name was Link Ray.
I've heard it. Isn't he the guy also that kind of cut the speaker cone first and caused the distortion effect, which freaked everybody out? I think he was the same guy, or maybe not.
I don't know. He might have been. I don't know. I do know somebody did that though.
Okay, fair enough.
I think the Beatles did that first.
Fair enough. Somebody kicked in their speaker cone.
I think the Beatles did that. They did that on Revolver, I think.
Right on. Okay. Not to derail to that, but go ahead.
Yeah. So there's that. But also I can remember, speaking of sleep, I can remember one time I had this tape and it was, a shamanic drum. And I was listening to it one night before I went to sleep. And I fell asleep listening to it. And I swear I dreamt I was a bear. I swear I was a bear in my dream. And I slept so good. I felt so great the next day.
That's wild. That's like a Game of Thrones warging as a wolf in your dreams, kind of scouting the landscape. I love that.
Yeah, and I felt like I was like checking stuff out like that, like from the perspective of like my beast self. Like, it was wild.
Herschel's gone feral.
What's that?
Herschel's gone feral.
I went feral. Oh, I've been feral. But there was this thing of I wanted to bring up about the music and about the frequency. Like, I played music when I was a kid, and the thing that kept me in music was the writing, the lyrics, and writing the melodies, and the way that they came into my head when I would listen to my friends play their riffs and whatever chords and bars they came up with. I would just automatically start thinking lyrics and melodies. And I'm so fascinated with that initial spark, and that's what really kept me in music. I didn't really care about all of the being on stage and all of that kind of stuff. It kind of made me uncomfortable, frankly. And I would always sing like with sunglasses on and just kind of like try to not be there while I was there, And there would be times when I'd be singing, have my eyes closed, and I'd be singing, and you're breathing. Singing is breathing. It's just that if you're doing it properly, you're really just breathing, and then you're just controlling your vocal cords while you breathe. And I'd have my eyes closed, and I'd be singing, and I'd get so lost that I would like stumble and almost fall over. Like I almost fell off the stage one time. And people would think I was like drunk or something. And I really wasn't drunk. I was just having like a mini OBE from like that from the voweling, from the vocalizing, and just the kind of meditative state I would go into while I was on stage. I'd go into these little mini meditative OBEs and I'd start laughing. Like I'd catch myself from falling and I'd start laughing. It was so funny.
Yeah, like a small trance. You know what's wild about that is that it's not the only tale of somebody being maybe painfully shy, didn't want to be on stage, but sort of the only outlet they had was music, and so they kind of toughed through it all the eyeballs on them. And as you said, even closed their eyes as part of it. There's a ton of stories going back of very famous people. They're just like, I hated that part of it, but I had to do it. It was cathartic. I had to play music. I just had to do it.
Yeah. And it's fun. I was lucky enough to have a couple of shows that I was in where it went so well that you could feel the crowd's like excitement. You could feel the wind from the crowd on you, and it would literally blow your hair back. I think if I had felt that one or two more times, I could have become addicted to that. But I wasn't that good, like where that happened all the time. It happened a couple of times, you know. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. Like for sure, that's a thing where these frequencies are very real. And that thing of singing, you know, your breathing, your mind, your brain is resonating. It feels really good. You know, it's like doing, you know, chanting meditation or vocalizing meditation. Your sinus cavity is resonating, and that's right up against your brain and your skull, and now your skull is resonating. Now your brain is vibrating, and it's euphoric. I mean, it feels wonderful. It's very good for you. It's good for your head. It's good for your brain. I think it clears the fluoride off your pineal gland, frankly. You know, it helps with all of that sort of thing. So yeah, that's definitely real. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up. Link Ray, the thing of the shamanic drum going to sleep, and then the singing. I guess that's pretty much it. Except the Terry, it's good to see him, and he's an easytopian all the way. Like, he is not a two-minutarian. He is an easytopian.
Nice.
And, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if all you got to do is share an Easytopian post, and you're an Easytopian. It doesn't cost anything. It's not like 3 seconds of clicking a link, and you are officially an Easytopian.
Hey, sounds familiar. Just help a little bit. Let's help each other. Absolutely. Yeah. Real quick before you go. So this larger context of the shamanic vision or the shamanic drums, and I want to ask you too. Where did you get the shamanic drum tape? I kind of want one. Like, where do we find these things?
You could easily find that on a search.
Okay. Fair enough.
It's just a really simple thing that is kind of universal too. It's not any specific place. I mean, because that is a universal thing. What you're talking about, it is universal. That beats per minute like that. That is not. Nobody owns that. That's a human experience thing. So.
Yeah. Wildly enough, regarding the music space, you cannot copyright a drum line as you're describing. So like you could peel all the music out and have a drummer playing everything, and you could just use that for whatever, and it's fine. No problem.
We're not appropriating any cultures by hitting a drum. Like, everybody has done that. Every culture has done that. You let the white people dance long enough and the rhythm will come back. And it's there. It's just been beaten out of us. And so we just have to zone it back in,
Amen. Right on. I appreciate you very much. What else you got? Go ahead.
Oh, nothing else much. I just wanted to bring that stuff in, but definitely listen to that Link Ray song.
Yeah, I have heard it, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And it does sound, it sounds like rebellion, right? It kind of has that the punk rock before there was punk rock. It kind of has that feel to it, even though, again, band with no lyrics. It's like
exactly
how do you?
That to me, it's so wild.
Yeah, how do you even quantify that? Go listen to it if you haven't listened to it. Go ahead.
I think it has a primal kind of effect on people. I think it brings out I think it's a very whole sound, and there are people who are just really intimidated by wholeness and the stuff. And the guy wasn't even like Mr. Rebel, Mr. resistor guy. He was just a musician, and they just couldn't handle his tremolo was a little bit much.
Which is wild to consider, because now they have every effect under the sun. It's like you can make a guitar sound like a piano now. I mean, we've gone full backwards and upside down. But a little bit of tremolo and a little bit of a sneer, and oh boy, you got to ban these bastards, right?
For real.
Right on. I appreciate the call. You were the best. You know him, you love him. Commercial Herschel. Please give him a follow. Go to Commercial Herschel is the name of his Substack. Easytopian, The Arc of the Bard, his podcast. And of course, a prolific writer, smart guy, all the things. Please go give him a follow in all the places. You're the best, brother. Appreciate the call. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Later. See everybody.
Take care. Take care. Troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Herschel. It's all alphabetical. There you go. Click it. Herschel. I always say he's got the sexiest link tree in the game, and it's true. There it is right there. Go give him a follow in all the places. Go buy his books, etc., so on. Anything to add to that, James? And we'll go to the phone line. We got somebody on the phone.
Just real quick, I listened to just the very beginning of that song, that Rumble song. I believe they used it, part of it, in Independence Day. I feel like I've heard it in a movie somewhere, which is really weird. Or at least like a song copied the very beginning of that song, maybe. I'm not sure, but I recognize it from somewhere else. So that's fascinating. But yeah, no, that's amazing. And a great call from Herschel as always. And nothing else so far. I think that's it.
Right on, no problem. Yeah, the that song in particular, like I said, it's resonant because I think everybody's probably heard it. Or if you don't know you've heard it, you know, that type of thing. But then maybe you didn't even realize that there's no lyrics. It just they're kind of making noises like they're singing stuff, and it's wild. Go listen to this thing, and you'll see what I mean. And kind of pay attention this time if you didn't the first time. But you'll notice the opening bars of this thing, and you'll go, oh yeah, I know this. And then it'll continue to go, and you'll be like, do I know this? This is a little weird. But like I said, it smells like rebellion. It certainly has that vibe to it. You're the best, James. Hang tight. We'll get back to you momentarily. 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org to the phone line. What's your first name? Where are you calling from? You're on Troubled Minds. Go right ahead.
Well, you told me to call back, and I'll be short since it's my second time.
Fire away. Welcome back, James. Yep, loud and clear.
The drum beat. Doof, doof, doof. My mother told me, but it's just a song, and then the Schumann Resonance, and yeah, it's just weird that everything is going so fast nowadays.
That's a fact.
Does that make any sense? Like,
yeah,
everything is going so fast, and like. I feel like, I don't know, you ever heard of the name David Wilcock?
Yeah, we talked about him a little bit recently, yep.
Yeah, just recently, in the last couple days.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
He's dead now.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes. We talked about it in brief the last couple days. Like I didn't go the full deep dive on it. Like many people have done it. And again, just to reiterate my take on it, if you didn't hear it, like this guy's life has been falling apart publicly for years. So it's tragic. I mean, it's tragic. It is really what it is. That's my point.
He switched from left to right, but one of the things he always did touch on is they're hiding things from us, and it kind of makes sense. Like you go to the early 1900s. The OG Tesla said there's a resonance, a human resonance. And he got worried about the fact that he figured it out. And certain vibrations can cause certain issues. And that ties back into music, the beat of the drum.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Like I said, MK Ultra for the masses, right?
Good, yeah, but it also ties into, like, you can take somebody that's personally calm and put, like I talked about earlier, mosh music in front of them. And the crowd starts doing the mosh, and then they all get violent. Well, what if they just, send that through your phone?
Yeah, well, but not just that. Yeah, through all manner of things. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, isn't it out there that they can already map your home through Bluetooth on your computers and stuff? Oh.
Wi-Fi? Yep.
Yeah, don't say the quiet part out loud.
Okay.
You know me, military background.
Yeah, don't get us banned from YouTube, please.
Yeah, I'll stop there, but At the end of the day, we're all humans. It isn't a left or right. It is east or west.
Amen. Well said.
It's a good conscience versus evil conscience.
Well said.
You're either a bad person, holy, or you're a good person. Choice is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you that there's all kinds of shades of gray. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you very much.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just saying.
If you're broke, living on the streets, and like you don't have a job and you have to steal some food to eat, well, I get it. Like you're broke, you have no job, and you had to steal some food to eat. But there's people that's got like, I don't know, yachts, and will spend $10 million on gas just to go travel somewhere. Like you spent $10 million on gas?
Leonardo DiCaprio?
And
you're talking about to fly to Paris?
Yeah, you see what I'm saying now.
Yeah.
Like you spent $10 million on gas to go somewhere, and then like I got to struggle on the streets because I'm broke and I don't have a job and try to find an apple that might be a scrap. Like we got to get back to the basics as human.
Amen. Back to the basics is good.
Back to the basic beats of human resonance, where we all grow food, we all trade food, and it's like, oh, you can't grow food? Well, you got a big yard. I'll grow it in your yard. If you let me grow food in your yard, I'll feed you.
There you go.
Back to the basics.
Back to the basics.
And with everything that's going on right now, I won't mention anything else on that, but a lot of people listening here understand what I'm saying.
100%.
Things are going to get very, very rough. And I'm going to cut it off because it's my second call. I appreciate letting me talk for more than 30 seconds.
You do every time. Appreciate the call. Have a great night, bro.
Much love, Mike.
You too.
Much love to everybody in this strange world.
You as well. Appreciate the call. Jay Winch in Missouri, good friend for a long time. Appreciate the call. Yeah, fascinating, the idea of ethics in a vacuum versus like societal ethics, right? It is part of what we do here. As it's a good conversation. It's something we should think about. It's something they should train us in society and in school and stuff. And unfortunately, right? Like, or at least if they did, nobody remembers. But yeah, great stuff. Okay, so back to this now. Where were we? So what the drum does at a technical level, back to the shamanic drumming, is loosen the brain's grip on consensus reality by driving neural oscillations into the frequency range where the grip naturally relaxes. And we're talking about the oscillations of, again, reality versus this maybe ecstatic state, maybe a dizzy state, whatever, like however you want to explain this. It is certainly messing with our consciousness. But the shaman of old knew this without knowing it. I mean, they knew it, but they couldn't tell you the neuroscience of it, but they could show you how to do it and actually manipulate people as part of it. And I don't know about manipulate as, a strong word in the sense of negative stuff, because I don't know, like, is building a community a negative thing? I don't know, right? If it's not an army, I mean, you know what I mean? Back to the ethics in a vacuum and all that. But anyway, so a second study published in April 2026 out of Yale's Belief, Learning, and Memory Lab approached the same territory from a clinical direction. The research examined what happens when people with psychosis participate in group songwriting sessions. And this is where this gets weird, right? So it can not only sort of take you into this elevated state of many different ways, all right, but also music can heal you. Listen to this. The research examined what happens when people with psychosis participate in group songwriting sessions. The framework the researchers used was predictive coding, the neuroscientific model that understands consciousness as fundamentally a prediction machine. Now you see why I'm talking about the Pythia, the prediction machine. The brain does not passively receive sensory data and report it faithfully. It generates a continuous model of what is most likely to be true, then checks that model against incoming signals, updating it when the signals diverge too sharply from expectation. All from the write-up. Consciousness is, in this model, a controlled hallucination. This version of reality you experience at any given moment is your brain's best guess, weighted by everything you have ever experienced, sculpted by expectation, and filtered through your prior belief. And the priors, your prior belief in the write-up, it's priors. It cites them as priors, is the interesting part, because there's this study, which we'll get to the Pythia and the final segment here, and we'll go a little bit long. We got Derek and Eric coming up and more from James. But there's this fascinating study, links are in the description. I highly recommend you read up on this other stuff. This is the rabbit hole stuff of this, but hallucinations and strong priors. And it's talking about this exact idea. And the Pythia of old, the oracle at Delphi, actually, in particular, was trained a very specific way. And that comes into play in the final segment. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Let me find a button to push. Let's push that one. What do you know about this? We're just talking, look, very simply, we're talking about consciousness. We're talking about energy, frequency, vibration. We're talking about music. We're talking about how the shamanic drum of old certainly can change our mental state, can put us into, what would you call it? How do you define it? And how is it still with us today? 702-857-6939. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Be right back. More from James. We got Derek the Night Stalker coming up. Eric, and your calls as well. Do not go anywhere.
This is Troubled Minds. Your host, Michael Strange, the master of the mysterious, is here to guide you through the shadows of the unexplained.
Let's check the news. Astronomers have finally mapped one of the most elusive structures in the known universe. A massive collection of at least 20 galaxy clusters, located roughly 800 million light-years from Earth, has remained nearly invisible to researchers since its discovery in 2016, hidden behind the Milky Way's dense band of stars and dust in a region known as the Zone of Avoidance. A new study uploaded to a scientific preprint server in March reveals the structure spans approximately 300 million light-years across and contains matter equivalent to around 30 quadrillion suns. Two dense cores within the supercluster appear to be moving toward each other, suggesting an eventual cosmic collision on an almost incomprehensible scale. Turning now to the science of aging, researchers may have found an unlikely ally in the fight against cognitive decline, the C-squirt. Scientists from a university in China, Stanford University, and several partner institutions have been studying compounds called plasmalogens, naturally occurring molecules found in high concentrations in these ocean-dwelling creatures. Plasmalogens already exist in the human body, making up roughly 1 in 5 fatty membrane molecules in our tissues, but levels decline steadily with age and are notably lower in patients with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. In a 2-month animal trial, older mice given daily plasmalogen supplements showed measurable improvements in memory and spatial learning tasks, and perhaps more strikingly, grew thicker, darker, and glossier fur, suggesting the effects extend well beyond the brain. Lead researcher Professor Lei Fu notes the findings point not just to slowing cognitive decline, but potentially reversing it. Sea squirts, interestingly, are already a traditional food in both Korea and Japan, where they are commonly eaten raw. Thanks for listening to the Troubled Minds Radio Network.
Who doesn't like thicker with more luxurious fur? I mean, come on now. What's up, guys? Hope everybody's well tonight. Herschel, thank you for the call. What's up, Matt Sal? Eric and Derek will talk to you guys momentarily. Dragon Rose, how you doing? What's the name? I can't see it because it's in black. Nitiri. Sorry if I got that wrong. I need my glasses. What's up, Daryl, APOC, and Joey? I see you guys. Puff Hiker, Cubs Futures over there. Gordo, I see you guys. Thanks again for posting the folks that call in and pinning it and all the stuff over there. Whoever's doing that on Rumble, appreciate that. The Sweets is there. What's up, Sweets? The other glue of the show. Thanks for all the reposts and all the places. Sweets always slaying it. Thank you so much for that. What's up, Nostradamus? I see you there. Cubs Future earlier, like I said. Hello, good evening. What's happening, folks? Dragon Rose. Charlton Smith, he says, I couldn't figure out how to see the show chat on Discord, so I went to YouTube. Super easy. Just go down to live show and then scroll down a little bit further, and there's actually just above that, it's under live show, there's a show chat, and then you can, Anyway, but both work because they're tied into each other, so you're in the right place. What's up, guys? Who did I miss? If I missed anybody, just say hi, and I'll say hi back. Welcome to the thing. Jay Winch, Sweets, appreciate the calls. Jay Winch, Matsell, Mosh Pots, can I say it? Mosh Pits give off so much energy. Yeah, it is If you've never been in a mosh pit, I recommend it. Even though, if you're listening to the show, you might be getting old. You might be getting old. I'm not going to accuse anybody of anything, but you might be getting old. Anyway, here we go. Troubled Minds coming up. Let's go. One final segment. Derek in Massachusetts and Eric in Ohio, and your calls as well. I almost said Arizona. Here we go. Troubled Minds happening now. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. All the places, all the things, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. Troubledminds.org is the website. You can find all the things there. Please follow our friends, troubledminds.org/friends. Lots of people make this show go. It's not just me. Tonight I'm calling this the Pythia's frequency, a drum, the oracle, and the glitch. And we're talking about consciousness. We're talking about the old shamanic drumming. We're talking about how music in particular has been something that changes not just who we are in a particular space with mood, but also is I don't know, how would you describe it? Like an ascension space. It's also something that can take us to altered states of reality and beyond. And so the question, as usual, it's always my question, by the way, on these shows, is how weird does this get and how deep does it go? Because as usual, a very specific, this is the premise is just the starting point. The whole idea of getting together and talking about these is to get to the bottom of this stuff and maybe point out some of the things that the rest of us aren't seeing. And when you get a bunch of us together, very smart people, like I always say, we're blessed to have such smart friends. You start to kind of point out and see things and recognize things you can help other people with as well. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this. Let's have a conversation. We don't have to sort of pin everything down to a binary aspect of who's right and who's wrong. Let's just talk. Let's just consider ideas and let's just hang out and have a good time. James, anything to add? And then we'll go to Derek in Massachusetts.
Well, just that prediction aspect of everything, the mind predicting things, whether they're more likely or less likely and all that, that's fascinating to me because when you factor in anomalous experiences, some people, if they don't have any of those, but then if they have one, because of that, they may sort of think, well, that must have been, I must be wrong about that. But then if you have several experiences, then I wonder, what is so different about the physical brains of those two people that are in different situations? Does that change based on experiences, or is there some level of structure in the mind that to make it so some people are, again, naturally more sensitive to these things? I'm really curious about the whole interaction of the scientific aspect of all this, but then also the anomalous things too.
Yeah, well, it all comes together. That's exactly the point. And as you know, you're in exactly the right place. Appreciate that very much. We'll get back to you momentarily. Once again, the Pythia's frequency, a drum, the oracle, and the glitch. What do you know about it? 702-857-6939. Click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. We'll put you on the show just like this.
Yep. Going on, Brutus?
Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. What's up, brother? You're on Troubled Minds. How are you? And take it wherever you like. As you know, nonlinear, open-ended. That's why we do this. Welcome to the thing, and all yours.
I hope I sound okay. I just realized I don't have my wired headphones tonight, so hopefully these wireless ones don't die on me. But yeah, great show, weird stuff. A few thoughts here. First, I was thinking about the as far as just like a universal tone. We're talking about maybe the things on Earth that kind of resonate into some kind of grander tone, and it made me think of the concept of the sounds of the spheres, which is, I think it's like a ancient Greek kind of Platonic concept where the math is kind of creating music, and as the planets and spheres are moving across space, they're creating a resonance, and things kind of aligning to that frequency, that resonance. It was in that Stephen King show, Castle Rock, from a few years ago, when they were talking about like ley lines and portals and stuff, and the idea that these spheres could be like dimensional spheres, and when they rub together, it creates like a weird frequency and a weird tone. They call it schisma. It's like a discordian sound and stuff. But we talking about like a universal sound of the spheres. So it makes me wonder, like, what if that's kind of a clue into if the planets are making a resonance and the universe is making a resonance, maybe the universe has like a sound of the universal spheres. So maybe it's resonating into like a grander body. So there's like a chain of cymatics going up and up and up that, like, we're resonating to the planet's resonating to the universe resonating to the larger body of the multiverse or the omniverse or the mind of God or whatever. But that's one thing. But then for the main thing, when you're talking about the alpha or the theta alpha state and the space in between, and the shamanic experience and stuff, the first thing that hooked in my mind was Stranger Things and the music as a tether to the other realm. When Vecna takes people to the other side, or when people get lost in the upside down, Will uses the Clash, and Max uses Kate Bush and stuff. But there's musical anchors and there's musical tethers to our realm. So that gets me thinking, like is music kind of a dimensional tether, or is music kind of a thing that can kind of ensnare you as well as like take you to other places? So the shamanic drumming, kind of in the context of like a spirit horse or like a vehicle to take consciousness across the different realms and the different frequencies, kind of guiding that journey, like the different press 2 in the elevator, the different drum beat and stuff. But I think a lot of it acts as a tether too, so you don't get lost. Like you're as much as you're the guide, you're also like the lifeguard and stuff. So you're making sure that you don't get, when you take the substance or you take whatever other thing is usually used in conjunction with the drum beats, you don't get lost on the other side, that the music can kind of bring you back, that there's like a resonance to that. And I have a bunch of like different examples of music kind of luring people to other dimensions. So I wonder if kind of the music is like of the dimension, I'll get more into that, but what do you think so far, Rambo?
Yeah, I kind of like that as the, I use the term now and then, but the reality anchor, right? And that Stranger Things aspect that kind of drew them out of the space. But also the same thing, right? And this is the whole point of the conversation tonight, is it can do both. It can draw you into that space, which is a dangerous space, but can also draw you out of it. And, I talk about reality tunnels, reality anchors, and that aspect that, sometimes you have just a pure song that you loved since you were 14 that nobody else knows about. And it has just kind of been your pure beacon of kind of drawing you back to center, back to a pure moment when you were young type of thing. And those are those reality anchors. When I talk about that space, it's good. It is like that Kate Bush song that kind of drew Max out of that Vecna space. This is all good. But then, of course, in the larger context of the shamanic drums and the rest of it and the manipulation and, the satanic panic of the 80s and all the things we always talk about on the show, like there's also another aspect to this where clearly it's been studied very well, as I like to say, MK Ultra for the masses, as I said earlier, that we can be manipulated by it too in bad ways, in very difficult ways. And I wonder if it, a lot of the political space that we see now, the division and all the hatred and all the dumb stuff, it kind of pressed on us by the mass media, has something to do with, dare I suggest, a clandestine program that's adopted pop music as a corrupting influence of society or something. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna get into that, but I mean, this is the whole Tavistock Institute and all that kind of stuff. Just pop music just poured out of that and everything else. The MK Ultra mind alteration type of stuff is it right in there. But the musical, or you mentioned the other day on one of the other shows about like Persephone and kind of the different mythologies about when you eat something in the other realms, it kind of traps you there and stuff. It reminded me of like the kids of the green kids of Wolf Pit or whatever, those kids who like apparently came from another dimension and they were green, and then they ate they didn't want to eat any food, and then they finally ate like some of our human food, and they changed from green to regular skin color, I guess, to human skin color. That like something about the resonance of the food, and like the biggest warning, like when you go to other realms, like don't eat anything, it'll trap you there, it'll anchor you there. But I wonder if there's like a musical thing to it too, in the same way that the reason why Max and Will are able to use music as an anchor is because of that pop music that you were talking about, because it has some kind of tie to the frequency or resonance of the dimension they're supposed to be in. So by humming it or thinking about it, you can travel back into that state, especially in Vecna style when it is kind of dreamlike. One second, sorry. It reminded me of snake charmers and stuff, how kind of one being can kind of entrance and lure another being by music, kind of in a malicious way, so to speak, that in a kind of a Pied Piper aspect, or pan flutes and like in the woods and luring people into the woods, or a siren song kind of luring people in the ocean down to their depths and stuff. That maybe it's portrayed in kind of a cryptid way or monster way. It's this kind of spooky tone, luring people out into danger and stuff. But maybe it's kind of a more metaphysical way where this kind of tone is from elsewhere. It's from another realm, and hearing it kind of guides you into that thing like a shamanic experience would. But it's kind of it's a shamanic attack, so to speak. It's like a dark shamanism where rather than guiding you on a holistic journey, it guides you into the maw of something else. You know, it reminds me of like the fairy songs and stuff. And this, I would kind of sing it or hum it if I had time to play it beforehand. But there's one video I kind of watch every St. Patrick's Day. This guy Johnny Enoch went to Ireland and was interviewing a bunch of like castle owners and stuff, and one of them said he knew the song of the fairies and would play it on his flute and stuff. And he said that he would be taken away to the fairy king and the fey king back in the day, and they taught him the song. And when he played the song, it was real like you definitely wouldn't hear it on the radio. It was real weird and had this kind of this extra quality. It's something that like, I mean, is it otherworldly or something like that? And kind of that the music is of elsewhere. So like I wonder if the luring of music from elsewhere can lure people to their depths and that type of stuff. And then when Joe was on, and I asked him about the Gen Z not dancing in dance clubs, is that really a thing? Are they not resonating to music in the same way? And is that because they're the first completely digital natives, so to speak, or like basically digital natives, and that they're resonating less with the material sound of the spheres and more so with the digital realm? You know, are they resonating to a different frequency that we are going to like understand more as we go forward? But like we're kind of millennials, maybe kind of one of the last generations to resonate with the sound of the Earth sphere as we get entranced by these archonic sirens into the other space, or just move there, just migrate over there. So we start to resonate with another sound of the sphere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense to me. And that's really, I mean, when you bring up the music of the spheres, it's like a stack, right? Like again, back to the animals and the communication sort of on the ground level of where we started tonight, that 2 hertz, the 2 beats per second is very specific and direct. And then it climbs that shamanic corridor, as we said, and into the dream space and the shamanic realm, but then also to the top of the Schumann resonance. It seems like there is that stack that continues up through the stratosphere, through into the ether, and then as you're describing sort of the sound of the spheres. And, you know, this comes up almost every time we talk about, sounds and music and things on this show, but the idea that it all started with sound anyway. It was sound before there was sight. And this is really the most primordial aspect of who we are. And so the fact that it's, can be manipulated or also used to inspire doesn't shock me at all. Very much speech, the same thing, right? The cadence of speech and people can, to give a great speech and then make you want to go kill your neighbor type of stuff. But then the opposite is also true. I mean, in the same idea, but it's just audio, and which is why I love audio. I love the radio format. I love talking to people. I love ideas that kind of come through in that audio space. I'm an audiophile, all the rest, but you get it. I know you get it. But is there the hierarchy of that larger stack that goes to the eternal?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like, I know Eric's behind me, so I'll be quick. But if you look at cymatics, like that's a tone that creates a shape. So if you kind of think about us as like, so if you haven't like to visualize it, just imagine sand on a piece of wood on a speaker, and play a certain tone. That sand will bounce and bounce and bounce, and then align to a certain shape. And you can just turn the tone off, scramble the sand up, put the tone back on, and it aligns back to that shape. And a different tone equals a different shape. So maybe the reason why myth repeats over and over again, the story repeats over and over again, is because we are these grains of sand. The sound of the spheres or the Schumann resonance or these different things are the cymatic tone, and we're all aligning, we're all dancing as grains of sand back into that shape. So the stories look the same, and these stories, they rhyme because they're the same shape, even they're separated by thousands of years and stuff, or millennia. And I'm not a mathematician or I'm not a musician, but is into music kind of just a manifestation in this realm of math that might be like the basis of the universe? So maybe it's kind of an audio platonic solid is what music is, kind of just how we experience this kind of base matrix code of math that underlies everything. And that maybe a different type of music is like a different coordinate on the grid or something like that, on a dimensional grid that can tether you to this realm. If you're experiencing other locations on the grid, can make sure you don't, it's like an astral cord if you're remote viewing or astral projecting, that kind of stuff, so you don't, or like pieces of breadcrumbs. If you're wandering through the forest, you don't lose your way. But then in the same way, you can be forced there, kind of. You can be taken there against your will. And I won't list the whole thing, but I asked the AI just like, list me a bunch of folk tales and mythology about being lured by music and stuff, and with like the fairy thing in mind. So there's the lure of the fairy, like in Celtic and European mythology. There's the lure of the fae, the city, of the harp and the fiddle, like lures people into the woods, and then they end up in Turnagog or fairyland or under the hill, etc. The Pied Piper, we all know. The will o' the wisp, that type of stuff. It's like swamp music that lures people into their doom, or to follow these lights and end up in another place. Selkie music, the sirens in Greek mythology, Orpheus in Greek mythology, Pan's pipes. Again, like these these nymphs are at this location, and you when you see them, you realize that this music you've been following through the woods is actually it enchanted you the whole time, and now you're kind of somewhere else. You're in kind of force world. The Nix and the Fossagum in Norse and Germanic. It's like music played by water spirits that will lead to drowning. In Norway, Huldra's harp, beautiful harp music from the forest that'll lead people, men in there, and you see beautiful forest women, and then they'll teach you music. If they don't teach you music, then you're lost forever. Japanese and Asian, there's a ton of them. Fox spirits, the kitsune, a bunch of different stuff. Native American, there's the flute of Kokopelli. Water drum songs, there's just a ton of them. There's like 50 of them here. All about hearing music in the woods, hearing music on the water, hearing music somewhere, following it, being allured by it, having some kind of otherworldly quality, and before you know it, you end up out of this trance and you find yourself where you're not supposed to be, and hopefully you can get back out. And usually the way to get back out is more recognizable music, like the music from your lover or the music from your home, or et cetera, et cetera. But I'm taking too long. I'll let Eric come in, but appreciate you guys. Awesome stuff. Hope you can hear me with my headphones and everything.
Loud and clear. You sound fantastic. You're gonna be pleased with the audio. I appreciate it very much. Thanks for the call. We love him. That's Derek in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker. Please give him a follow. Again, a good friend for a long time, and blowing up our brains every single time this guy calls. He's blowing up our brains. Good friend behind the scenes and all the rest of that too. A good dude all around. Please give Derek a follow. TroubledMinds.org/friends. Scroll down. It says follow Night Stalker. It's under N, and it is STOCKER. He does call us from work. He's stalking overnight in a grocery store. He's the best grocer in the known multiverse. That's a fact. I can tell you that. Again, TroubledMinds.org. Scroll down, follow Night Stalker. It's right there, up there. Click it. Go follow his YouTube channel. It's completely free. Let's help our friends. James, anything on that? And we'll go to Eric and wrap this up.
Really gave me a little bit of a chill there when Derek mentioned, great call from Derek, the flute, Native American flute, because I had just about a week ago, I had this weird thing that happened where I heard it sounded like a flute playing 2 or 3 notes going back and forth, and I could not trace where it was coming from. It seemed like it moved around my apartment, and it just happened for a couple minutes here, stopped for a minute, came back a couple minutes there, stopped, and then it just was gone. And I don't know what it was. I've never had that before. Haven't had that since. So really odd. It just kind of odd coincidence or synchronicity. Maybe, I'm not sure there with all that.
Yeah, when he brought up the idea of playing I know the music of the faithful, playing it on this flute, it always reminds me of that scene from Braveheart, playing outlaw tunes on outlaw pipes. I'm like, yes. Double hell yes. 702-857-6939. Eric in Ohio, not Arizona. You're on Troubled Minds. What's up, brother? How are you tonight? And go right ahead.
Good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. No complaints out of me. Just talking wild stuff by dark of night with my friends, living the dream.
Oh, yeah. Kairos over Chronos, right?
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why I built Kairos, to be able to control musically the very things that you speak of. Being able to use 4 low-frequency oscillators based on non-repeating Fibonacci sequences to control things like panning and volume, which is the spatial aspects of music, with the frequencies of the different brain patterns and states, along with envelopes that correspond to the golden spiral and Pythagorean ratios and this sort of thing. And the chat, I've uploaded 3 screenshots for anyone who's interested. You can see on one of them, and there's the 4 LFO tabs at the top, and then you can do a drop-down menu and pick your whatever state, the theta state or alpha state or gamma state that you're looking for, and then you can connect those to whether this is panning the sound back and forth in the stereo field, or if it's modulating the volume or the pitch or the transient or whatever aspect of the sound that you want it to control. And you can see there's like a depth for the envelope too, and all of those are Fibonacci numbers too, so that the very DNA of the sound itself is buried in these brainwave state concepts and ancient math concepts. And that's basically what I have done with all 7 of the instruments that I have made. Kairos, you were talking about how rhythm can entertain or repair, loosen, reshape consciousness. And that's what Kairos is designed to do musically. It treats rhythm not just as a beat, but as an organized time, whether that's a matter of panning or volume or decay. It's using these sequences and these brainwave patterns, and then we talked, I think we did a show about all this, and we talked about anakatoron, which just to recap too, Kairos means the correct moment in time, or the right time, or the opportunistic time, as opposed to chronos, which is just time or grid time. And anakatoron is ancient Greek for the innermost sanctum. It was basically the place in the temple that only the high priests could go into and meditate and get their connection with the world on, if you will. And then with anakatoron, I used archaeoacoustic data derived from universities under the Creative Commons license to recapitulate the Hypergeum, Newgrange, Stonehenge, the King's Chamber and the Great Pyramid, and a couple of other ancient spots, so that, if you're putting this on a sound, it's going to resonate and echo like it would if you were playing it in those spots, to be able to achieve whatever mental state that you're looking for. And there's even with Stoichkon, which was using spectrometry and the periodical table of elements and shifting those frequencies down by 40 octaves, taking them from the visual to the hearing, so that you can hear what gold sounds like, you can hear what argon sounds like. That sort of thing can be a filter on any sound that you would make. So Aperion, Kairos, and Rudra explore hidden structures in number. Kittim explores hidden structures in ancient tuning, ancient 5,000-year-old Babylonian tuning, and then Stoichkon is the hidden structure in matter, and anakatoron and Soptu is the hidden structure in space. And then the thing I'm working on currently is Nos, which is hidden structure in meaning. It's basically hyperdimensional computing, making a 10,000 axle higher dimensional mathematical space to put embedments on, just like normal AI works, right? Except instead of training it on a corpus of written information like a normal LLM, I'm going to be training it on a corpus of sounds that I've made over the last 40 decades that is 8% larger than Google's G-Lab synth reservoir. So it's more diverse and more in number that this is going to be able to train on. And then it's going to be able to do things like separate breath from voice and be able to apply one of those aspects to another sound like that had never been done before, like taking an electronic sound and putting breath to that. And basically it's like training an AI on what the meaning of sound is. It won't be processing waves or anything like that. And another thing is there is the inverse of that, which I have an EKG reader that I'm able to use that detects what my brain wave states are in, and then that is used to control ASMDR values in any kind of a sound that I use. And I'm putting a link to that sort of thing in the chat now, and you can check that out. But basically, it's a brainwave reader, and if you can control your own states by calming yourself down or meditating or whatever, you will be able to affect the music that you're playing, and vice versa. You can also listen to the music that you're writing and creating or performing and have that affect you in a certain way, like by using Kairos to set up bioneural beats that changes you into a theta state that's then fed back into the envelope parameters through MIDI of whatever sound that you're working on. So it's like the inverse, right? It's like you're using your brain to power the idea and not the music to extensionally power you. And then, because I know you're probably short on time, just a couple of other observations. You know, also in writing music too, I tend to write in 32 measures because that's like 8, 16, 32 divisible by 4. But I can also write in 34 length beat measures, which is like a Fibonacci sequence, and have those loop. I can also use beats per minute, 72 to 75, to mimic the human heart rate on average at rest, or 150 or whatever for beats per minute you can use. And then as to the group music thing, that where it's so easy to repair certain damage, I think you've had a show on before that talked about dopamine being the prediction chemical in the brain. And of course, oxytocin is the group chemical. So in that situation, you're really training the dopamine and oxytocin in your brain by jamming with people in a group. And even serotonin too, which is like the holdout, telling you not to do the thing that feels good right now, but to hold out for the larger payoff. So all of those chemicals are in play when you're jamming with somebody, and that's why it's so easy to lay down synaptic circuits through axonal transport that ends up becoming what they call muscle memory, right? You're able to do things without really thinking about it or on feeling. And as to the brain interpreting the reality as best that it can through its own senses and making its best guessed version of what reality is as a hallucination is not much different than me training NOS, this AI that I'm working on building, with my 392,000 sounds, and then making a taxonomy of 16 different descriptors like breathy or transient or woody or metallic or whatever, and describing these to different sounds so that it instinctively understands and can embed in its matrix what these sounds are and where they're similar and where they're not. So I think, for me at least, the act of existing and the act of creating music and the act of coding tools to be in control of certain timing aspects and mathematical functions is all wound up in the same thing. Like, there's no distinction between what they were doing 6,000 years ago before the written record and what we're doing today in modern times. It's just that in a large instance, people have forgotten.
Yeah, well said. All of that, like, boom, blowing brains up. I want to point out just real quick too, recognize that the old ways of that sort of shamanic drum patterns and things were to create sort of that elevated state of consciousness, whatever that looks like, however you want to define that. But then look what happened with Robert Monroe and hemisync and the, sort of the modern technology of being able to do one tone in one ear, one tone in the other ear. Like, what you're talking about is the next level of this. Do you think at some point we're going to be able to press play and then go to Mars? I mean, like literally just go boop and you're remote viewing Mars or something. I mean, do you think like that future is on the horizon with technology? Because you're building things that have never been built before. I'm building things that have never been built before because of AI. It's incredible. And so I don't know. Do you think is it that crazy, that wild, that you're going to be able to go boop and then you're at Mars?
Yeah. Yeah, because everything's frequency, right? If I can sit in my bedroom and use solid science of spectrometry to realize that for each periodical element that gets hit with a photon or changes its electron shell that produces a photon of a certain frequency or a certain color, and I can grade that 40 octaves into something that you can hear, if the science is that solid that you can play around with it like that, mathematically, physically, and in terms of hearing and audibly, yeah, I believe that that's possible, right? Because at some point you're going to be able to understand what the harmonics are, because what creates timbre in a sound, what makes a flute hitting a middle C different sounding than a violin hitting a middle C is the harmonics, the subharmonics that occurs along with the sine wave that corresponds to the frequency, right? So you've got these stacked frequencies that are relative in some way. I divide them up through ancient math like phi, pi, and Fibonacci and Pythagorean ratios, right? But they can be divided. There may be other ways to divide these things up. There may be deeper, denser harmonic frequencies that can be manipulated. And when you're talking about frequencies, you're talking about everything from the top of that spectrum, which is gamma rays, all the way down to low frequency radio waves that you can't hear or can feel, right? That they use in weapons to make people sick. But everything is some kind of a frequency. Even the idea of C is an exchange rate between the subatomic structure of space and time. C is not the speed of light. C is the exchange rate between what a massless vector particle is and what matter is. But in the spectrum of all of these things, it's a matter of frequency.
Boom. Well said. Also, C has no sharps in the scale. Also that too. You're the best. As you know, we're out of time. Appreciate it very much. Let me know. You got a list of shows we're going to do. We'll get back and we'll do some of those shows. But keep building amazing stuff. Keep thinking amazing ideas. And appreciate you very much. You're the best, brother.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks for the call. You know him, you love him. That's Eric in Ohio, not Arizona. Contrary to popular belief, I keep trying to make people believe. Eric in Ohio, please give him a follow in all the places. Look, thank you, Sweets, for dropping his links in all the places, and everybody for pinning them. Yes, troubledminds.org/friends. Scroll down, follow Eric. Please go follow him. Go check out the stuff he's working on. Like I said, look, we've been so blessed to meet very smart, incredible people that can think dynamically, that are looking at the world in different ways, and that can articulate it. That's the point, right? The point has always been for me to be, okay, I got all these wild ideas in my head. How do I articulate them? Well, start a radio show, start talking to people. Here we are. James, anything to add? And then let's wrap this up.
Great call from Eric. I can't really comment on a lot of that, except to say it wouldn't surprise me that, again, going to that question, do you think if we just press play on something, we could go somewhere in our minds? I mean, there have been people that have been doing that naturally throughout time here and there. You just don't hear about that all the time. There are people that, as I've mentioned before, can move things with their mind, can read other minds, can contact other minds. But all that is, is suppressed. All that is thought of as not possible. So if that can happen within the human body in rare cases already, then why can't technology be used to help that? And maybe even, maybe even we wouldn't even have to use the technology all the time to get to the point where people could do that on their own anyway. Just thinking of certain frequencies or, I wonder, does once you hear something enough, you can kind of hear it in your mind again. Would thinking of a certain frequency or a certain sound, would that then make it possible to do the same thing, to, astral project, to remote view places without having to have the audio playing in your ears? I guess that's another question to add to all this. So, but thank you for having me on. Great calls from everyone, and looking forward to next time.
And you were the man. Appreciate it very much. You know him, you love him. James Salcido Paranormal, SALSIDO, paranormal.com. Go check out the website. He's got look, if you've got an experience you've had, like a paranormal or anomalous experience, there's a web form up there on salcidoparanormal.com. Go send it to James, and you can be on his show and talk about it. And it's sort of a very cozy format he does, about 24-minute segments, 25-minute segments, and he has guests on there talk about their experiences. That's the whole point, is that there are stigma to people experiencing anomalous things. So James is trying to break that down and doing great work over there. Again, SalcedoParanormal.com. Please go check it out. Go support our man. Go buy his books. Like I said, they're on Amazon. You could buy them tonight, get them tomorrow. That's how auto-magically Amazon works. By the way, I bought a new... there's a little tripod for my camera now, and there's like I've been limping along with a this crappy $12.99 mic stand forever. I finally bought a real one, and as you see, I can actually move this thing around and not be worried it's going to fall. But the reason I bring it up is because this is not a commercial for Amazon, but it is auto-magically. I ordered it last night. It's here today in time for the show. It's all good. Yeah, look, help our friends. That's what this has always been about. It's about meeting people. It's about learning things. It's about sharing ideas together. It's about those experiences that fall off the plate of modern discourse. Okay? That's it. We're here to talk about those things. We're here to talk about those ideas. That's what it's always been about. And look, it's okay to not have a conclusion or an answer at the end of it. It's okay. Look, we talked about a lot of things tonight. Do you have like 10 new conclusions in your mind? I hope not, because I don't think I heard any. I heard a lot of ideas about a lot of great things and some things to explore. Some things maybe you learned that you didn't know about. Some things I learned that I didn't know about. That's what it's always been about here on Troubled Minds. Help our friends. troubledminds.org/friends. That's the way this goes. If you want to help us directly, spread the word. Let people know a conversation's happening where we're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to trace down or track down mass media narratives of politics and all the rest of that crap. Look, I'm so over it. I'm so over what the mass media does and the nonsensical binary propositions, every damn thing out there. I'm over it. I'm done. Like, we did some politics early on in the show. Like, yeah, a little bit. I dodged it mostly because it just disgusted me. But now it's full disgust. Pedal to the metal. Everything else. We're going to talk about consciousness. We're going to talk about the paranormal. We're going to talk about the UFO space. Propaganda, yes, but we're not going to touch politics. I don't like it. I think it's toxic. I think it's disgusting. And I think that binary aspect of human conversation is what's destroying us. So let's not do that. What's up? Shout out White Like the Ghost. Welcome back. Michael W. I see you there. Thanks for popping in and asking when the shows are. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Yeah, look, I don't know. Answers few, questions many. That's my motto. Adopt it, please. At least drop it into your mix of ideas, because it's important to recognize maybe, just maybe, we'll live from cradle to grave and not know any of the answers. But let's sure as hell talk about them. That's that. If you want to be part of the conversation, you know what to do. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Come help us. Come say hi. Come join the chat. Join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. It's a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. Come meet all these amazing people that make this show go. And me too. I'm no slouch either. Come say hi. Come help us in one little way. We'll put you on that friends list, and thank you for being part of this. As we finish, it goes exactly like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.